Good evening. Call to order. Welcome to the Laramie City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, September the 2nd, 2025. And if you'd like, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Newman. Absent. O'Doherty.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
Vigil. Here. Richardson. Absent. Cumby.
Here.
That's 7 present and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, we go to public comment on non-agenda items. If there is anyone with public comment on non-agenda items, good evening, Chris. If you could state your name for the record, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Christopher Diley, and I'm homeless here in Laramie. I am following up on the public safety issue as it relates to the city of Laramie. And what I'm doing is specifying it to the city of Laramie because it got a little abstract because I had to address the Federal Transportation Administration. So it got a little abstract, but I want to keep it on the city of Laramie and point out what I didn't point out last time is that the city of Laramie can apply for the Wildlife Crossovers Program with the Federal Transportation Administration in reducing wildlife and vehicle collisions. And it would be a bit unusual because I think only like the city of Tempe, Arizona had applied for the federal grants through this program, and they didn't receive it, but neither did any of the state transportation in Wyoming. They didn't receive it. In the second round of grant funding, they didn't receive any grants. So the state of Wyoming has a lot of wildlife and vehicle collisions, and yet they didn't receive any federal funding. And the pessimistic part about this is that the Wyoming public media pointed out that the Wildlife Crossing Project in Wyoming faces hurdles with federal funding sources is on pause. That was from June 4th of 2025. What they point out is that Wyoming wasn't selected for the second round of funding. The intention was to reapply for the third and final round of funding this May, but the application didn't open up and the program is on pause. The federal government has not provided a timeline for further announcements or opportunities. The plan is to apply for funding through the Wildlife Crossings pilot program if it comes back online. And that's the problem, is that and I was kind of critical of the Federal Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, because he said that he was going to prevent red tape. He was going to stop. He wasn't going to allow red tape to stop him from reducing public safety on public highways in the country. And just days later, after his confirmation hearing, President Trump put the freeze on the federal grants. And so that applies directly to the city of Laramie, because you can't do it now. You can't apply, and nobody is saying anything so that nobody knows. A lot of people are really on board with this. They think it's a really great idea. And I'll just say this in closing, is that the Laramie experiences numerous wildlife vehicle collisions annually, that these collisions, which can occur on any road type, are exacerbated during the fall and spring migration seasons and in winter due to snow plowing that can trap wildlife. The causes and contributing factors are migration, winter conditions, and driver behavior. Reducing speed, especially at dawn and dusk, is a crucial and effective way to prevent collisions. So I just want to bring that to your attention again, and keep it specific to the city of Laramie, because I'd love to see that. I talked to somebody. I'm not from here because I'm homeless, and I'm from Alaska, where they had a lot of collisions with moose up there. It's just been a common thing for like decades. And just say in closing that that someone told me, someone that works for the Department of Transportation here in Laramie, they told me that they have a lot of wildlife vehicle collisions. The further you go east out of town, that's where you have them. Yeah, it's horrible because beautiful animals, the
Yes.
antelope and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move on to consideration of changes in the agenda. Are there any public requests to remove a consent item from the agenda and place it on the regular agenda? And seeing none, we will move on to Counselor O'Doherty. If you can please set the agenda.
I move that the agenda be set as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion by O'Doherty, second by Shumway. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next, we move on to proclamations. And this evening, we have a proclamation on Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas Jason's Friends Foundation is currently supporting over 175 Wyoming families who have had the misfortune of having a child diagnosed with cancer, brain, and spinal cord tumors, and will continue to help these families until their child reaches 21 years of age. And whereas Jason's Friends Foundation has enrolled 19 new families so far in 2025 alone, compared to 21 total in 2024 and 21 total in 2023. This sharp increase is a sobering reminder of the ongoing need in Wyoming. And whereas Jason's Friends Foundation has expended over $8,650,000 directly to Wyoming families of children with cancer, brain, or spinal cord tumors since its inception in 1996, preventing financial instability and relieving much of their financial burden. And whereas over 70 Wyoming children have lost their battle with cancer, brain, or spinal cord tumors in the last 29 years. And whereas cancer affects children and young adults differently from adults as their bodies are still developing and the side effects of the treatment alone can cause more harm than their maturing systems. And whereas September is observed internationally as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Now, therefore, I, Sharon Cumby, Mayor and President of the City of Laramie, Wyoming City Council, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in this community and encourage our citizens to help raise awareness for pediatric cancer and to support programs such as Jason's Friends Foundations that give financial and emotional assistance to the victims and their families in witness thereof, and hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of Wyoming to be affixed this second day of September 2025. And I'm signing this proclamation and asking if the Smith family could join us at the podium. Elizabeth and Douglas Smith with their two daughters, Francine and Faye. Welcome this evening. Welcome. Would you like to say anything?
Thank
You
you
are
for
so-
the recognition for all the families that are suffering throughout the world and even here in Wyoming. And we are testament to the fact that Jason's friends in particular kept our family afloat while Francine was undergoing her almost 9 months of treatment. So we're very thankful to them and hope that people continue to contribute to them. And we're thankful to our Laramie community.
Thank you so much. Would you, oftentimes we have people come up and have their picture taken with council as you receive the proclamation. Would you want to do that?
So, okay with that?
This. We'll go back. And it just swings.
City Manager, do you have any announcements for this evening?
Mayor, we do. We have two announcements. The first from the Economic and Community Development Department.
Good evening, Director Teeny.
Mayor, Council, I just want to make a quick announcement regarding the Reconnecting Communities grant that we received. We're working kind of on the tail end of the plan. If you all have kind of been paying attention to the process that we've been going through, we've identified some different ways and to connect west side, West Laramie, into the rest of Laramie on the east side, kind of crossing those barriers, the interstate, the river, and the railroad tracks that kind of keep people from connecting. And through that process, we've identified a bunch of different corridors that are important to the community. And as we kind of are hitting the tail end of this process, we're actually doing kind of a fun event. We're doing a bike ride to a couple of the key areas where we hope to see improvements long term. And so that's going to be on September 12th. It's going to start at 4:30. It's about a 5-mile bike ride. And starting at 4:30 in the First Street Plaza right downtown. And from there, you're going to go with a group of people on a bike ride. And at certain stops throughout the whole trip, we're going to talk and have our consultants there to talk about the areas that have been identified through community input. And so, if you know people that just want to know about this project, this is a great way to participate and really get on the ground and see things in a little bit different of a way than just seeing it on a map or coming to a building and looking at things. And then also, if for some reason you don't think you could participate in that or you want to know more information, please reach out to the planning office. We'd be more than happy to get you the information and talk through some of the different directions that we think that the plan is going. If you don't want to participate or you can't participate in the bike ride. So that's once again, 4:30 to 6:30, Friday, September 12th, meet at First Street Plaza. You will see us there. There'll be bikes and lots of people there. So, all right. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. That sounds exciting. And a second announcement, City Manager.
It's Administrative Services.
Good evening, Director Wade.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Billy Yarich, who is our Customer Operations Supervisor, is joining us online tonight for an announcement. So I'm just introducing him.
Thank you. Welcome, Billy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Director Wade. My name is Billy Yarich, and I'm the Customer Operations Supervisor for the city. So it's that time of the year again where we get to see an influx of applications for our residential parking passes. And this year we have the honor to actually be on our new system. We've been live since about October of last year. And overall, obviously, the system has been generally very successful. We've been super happy with it. But obviously, as with any system, there's challenges. And we've heard some feedback from the community. What we've done is we've created a step-by-step how-to video. We've had that rolling on our social medias, Facebook. We've linked that on YouTube. And then we actually have a TV in the lobby playing that loop nonstop during business hours. And I'm still not tired of hearing Owen's voice yet on that. So I think it's doing really well. And as always, anything else that we can do better to help serve the community and the city, we welcome that. If you guys want to give me a call, 307-721-5225, that'd be the best number. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your being here. And for those of you in the audience who may not have been here before, we normally broadcast on all of the screens here, and we have a part that went bad and has been on order, and we hope to get that soon. But normally you would see that person and you would see slide presentations and other things. So that's why everything is blank right now. So City Manager, that's it with announcements right now. Thank you. Council members, are there any disclosures and or conflicts of interest? Hearing none. Councilor Doherty, approval of the consent agenda, please.
I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second. I have a motion by Doherty, second by Vigil. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart, absent.
Yes.
Oh, just kidding. You're online. Right. Yeah. Sorry about that, Councilor Lockhart. Newman is absent. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson absent, and Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 11, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to acknowledge receipt of the Environmental Advisory Committee recommendations for waste diversion and recycling initiatives and programs within the city of Laramie.
Second.
I have a motion from Freed, second from O'Doherty. Good evening, Director Levin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of council. Thank you for having me tonight. So I'm here tonight just to kind of discuss and report back to you all on some of the initiatives that the Environmental Advisory Committee has been working on. Earlier this year, the EAC developed and sent out a public survey to the residents of, well, really anybody, not just residents of Laramie, but regarding recycling and waste diversion within the city. The goal of that was to learn what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, where we can improve, usage, things of that nature. So the EAC took that and they reviewed those survey findings, developed kind of some key findings, and then with that, some recommendations that the EAC recently reviewed and passed at the recent EAC meeting. So tonight, I just wanted to kind of go over those findings and recommendations, and then also Vice Chair Mr. McDonald is here if we have any specific questions for him on the EAC as well as the subcommittee that he was on. So key findings of the survey: the community values waste diversion but sees room for improvement. Access and clarity are major barriers to participation. Cost remains a deterrent for some residents. But there is broad support for specific initiatives regarding recycling and waste diversion. Updating communication tactics could improve engagement. So those are just some of the key findings. Those all sounded negative, but it's all very positive feedback. What we did receive, now that I said it out loud, it kind of came out. That wasn't my intent there. And then moving on to the recommendations for City Council. Improve access to recycling services. A big part of that was to multifamily housing. This has been a topic in the past. I know enhance public education and communication. It's just a good reminder that, you know, a lot of these programs just require more education and routine education to get the word out there of these programs that we offer. Reducing cost barriers, considering, you know, removing, you know, fees associated with recycling and just opening up that for folks if that is a financial barrier to them. And then lastly, supporting event-based waste diversion, just encouraging and implementing accessible recycling options to our public. So I'll keep it brief with that though, but really the purpose is to just acknowledge and support these recommendations that the EAC had and brought to you guys tonight, and then just carry these forward for any policy making and procedures that we have with the city.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Are there any questions? Yes. Councilor Doherty.
I was wondering if Mr. McDonald wanted to add anything because he worked pretty hard on this. We appreciate all the work the EAC did on this project. He might have things he wants to pipe up about.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, welcome. Thank you for attending tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think Ben did a good job summarizing it all. We tried to be as succinct as we could in the letter that was on the agenda. You know, the goal, we've heard a lot at the EAC, a lot of public comment on waste diversion initiatives. It was a primary topic in the city's emissions reduction plan, the landfill being one of the largest sources of emissions in the city. And so waste diversion is certainly a topic that strikes on multiple aspects that we've been hearing about at the EAC. And this baseline survey that we summarized here was one of the surveys that was sent out to the residents of Laramie and Albany County. There was another survey that we did send out to businesses in the city as well. And so those results are not summarized in this letter, but Brennan and city staff have those results available. They are posted on the EAC's agenda or minutes from June, perhaps, I think. And, you know, we think that this will serve as great baseline data for future initiatives as well, but a good reference point for you all to look back on as initiatives for waste diversion come up. And we think that there's certainly a lot more data that could be, and a lot more conclusions that could be teased out of the results of that survey as well. So.
Thank you. And thank you for the work of the EAC. It's very much appreciated. And I know at times it's quite laborious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Further comments from council, comments or questions? Either one right now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
And thank you, gentlemen. I know we pulled this from the consent so that people could hear about the really valuable work that's being done. And I just want to say the number of times per week that I reference my fridge magnet that tells me what I can and cannot recycle, that's a wonderful thing. If we can get more of those, distribute them. And then we have a really talented and creative city staff who's always thinking about other ways to educate the public. So inside of that goal of enhancing public education and communication, more magnets, more whatever it is, but I use it every day. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we did talk with J.R. Singleton in the solid waste division in preparation of this summary letter. And there are a lot of great things that the city and city staff are doing already. And a lot of evidence that they're working very well, but there's still room for improvement. I think just general support to keep those initiatives going. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council. Any final comments? City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman, absent. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 12, Counselor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council approve the service agreement with Crescendo for voice services, licensing for $9.45 per user per month for professional licenses and $15.85 per user per month for advanced licenses for a term of 60 months and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second. I have a motion from Bowling, second from Vihel. Good evening.
Good evening,
Jonathan.
Mayor and Council. As you probably saw from the cover sheet, the city's phone system's over 15 years old now. The vendor had announced that they will no longer provide patching and support for that. And so it became necessary to find a new phone system for the city. We had a group of people, employees from the city, help us create a list of what features we wanted, what features would be beneficial. And then we went and looked at numerous different companies offering those services, had more in-depth conversations with 5 of them, did demos with 3 of them, and got pricing, and ultimately decided that Crescendo would be the best fit for the city of Laramie. And after talking with them, by signing a 60-month contract, it saves us about almost $8,000 per year over, say, a 3-year contract, and even more over a yearly contract. And so that's why you see the total amount of the contract at $208,000, around $41,000 per year. Council in the fiscal year 26 budget previously approved $70,000 towards this. So this is coming in under what we had anticipated for budget for the phone system.
Thank you, Director Rhodes. Councilors, questions? Okay. Oh, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Director Rhodes. I guess my only question would be, I know you can't see the future, but does this company have a history of being in this business? And, you know, in 5 years, at the end of 60 months, are we going to have to do a new software update? I know you can't tell the future, but just curious on maybe some of the background of this organization. Thanks.
Based on their background, we anticipate they'll still be in business, still be doing this kind of thing. There's a lot of other companies that actually resell this company's platform. So there's a lot of people that use it. And one of the other things with the online hosted type system, we kind of get kept up to date with the latest and greatest as they make developments. Whereas our on-premise system right now, we physically have it, and it does age. And so I would anticipate that they'll still be around and kicking, and I hopefully will be enjoying it very much in 60 months.
Thank you. Other questions? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Aye.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman. Absent. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vihil.
Aye.
Richardson. Absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Councilor Bowling, item 13.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2107, amending multiple sections within Title 15.24 of the Laramie Municipal Code for the purposes of updating city code as a standard practice and as recommended by the Planning Commission on second reading in accordance with finding of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
I have a motion by Bowling, second by Freed. Good evening, Director Tini.
Good evening, Council. The item before you, we're on second reading of this amendment. We brought this forward at your last City Council meeting. The changes here proposed are related to sections of the municipal code that reflect items that are found within our international building code. And we did go through these during the last meeting. We answered a few questions. at the last meeting. And really, these are some of the exemptions that we provide to allow us to kind of take the code that is built for a little bit of everybody and allows us to focus in on how that can be a little bit better for Laramie based upon our conditions. And so with that, I was going to keep it pretty short and sweet, but I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Director Tini. Councilors, questions on this item? Seeing none, move to the public. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Good evening. Mr. Cisneros, if you can state your name for the record.
Michael Cisneros.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I didn't get to see the agenda, and so I'm not quite sure what exceptions have been made, but I just want to make sure that the contractors have a voice here. And not only for ourselves, but for the public. On August 18th, I wrote you folks a letter. 5 of you responded. Thank you very much for responding to me. That means an awful lot. The fact of the matter is it's like Derek indicated. The code is great, and it addresses a lot of necessities that need to be done, but there does need to be a little bit of maneuvering, if you will, things that work for our community. And I really hope that you guys will look a little bit deeper into everything that you guys are doing before this gets completely accepted through the third reading, I believe is when that'll happen. Want to make sure that we are addressing areas of concern. We talk about affordable housing, and for those of you who have read the email, I think you guys kind of get what my point is there. But you know, we've got some pretty important things inside of this code, and I'm not sure what exceptions that Derek or anything else has said in the agenda, because I didn't get a copy, and I apologize for that. But, you know, some of the big ones are, you know, if we pass this through without making sure we've got some provisions for fire sprinkler systems in some of the buildings, such as single families or maybe even up to, you know, fourplexes, we're going to add a tremendous amount of cost. These are not your regular fire sprinkler systems. I'm sure everybody's seen them inside of new homes where, you know, you have PEX piping in the basements, and that's a code requirement if you haven't finished the basement. And the thought process is that's going to happen sooner or later. And so those get removed, you get fire protection put in place. But one of the things that happens now is if we accept this code without taking some of this stuff out of there and putting some provisions in there, we are saying that every single house that is built in Laramie will require a fire sprinkler system. And we're talking a 2-inch fire line into every single house to be able to manage that. We're talking hard pipe and a system that is just the same as the city has inside of your commercial buildings. And we all know how expensive that gets. From my exploring and getting a price on a 3-plex, I'm just about $93,000 to sprinkler a 3-unit apartment complex. Okay, that takes the idea of putting that 3-plex out of the possibility of even doing it. A single family house at around 2,000 square feet is going to be about $45,000. Now, what this entails is we have to hire a fire sprinkler system company. It's not a regular plumber, it's fire sprinkler system company, you know, such as Western States, or we've got lots of other ones around here. But those are the people that have to do this system. Has to have risers, there has to be separations, there has to be backflow valves. And that has to be done from that type of a company. And so, you know, we really need to look really close at what we're asking to do, because we're asking to add, on average, $45,000 price tag to each home. And I can't tell you that, you know, the building costs and the cost of financing has gotten to be so difficult from every aspect that, you know, there used to be some profitability in houses. Now the margin is so very thin. And if you don't do everything absolutely right, it's not going to happen. And that's one of the reasons why people aren't building in Laramie, because it's so expensive already. Everything that's happened years ago, and it's not all your guys' doings because you guys weren't here, but with the Unified Development Code, the way that that was designed, a lot of that, was designed with the concept of, Fort Collins, Colorado, Boulder. Some of those things really, really start to be difficult because the people that live in Laramie don't make those types of incomes. And so it's very, very difficult to be able to put affordable housing for folks, even those people that make a decent income.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Back to council for, oh, yes, sir. Please come up, and if you could state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Johnny Vasquez, owner of J. Vasquez Construction, and I've been a builder here now for myself for 21 years and also a licensed contractor for Laramie. So I just want to say Mike actually said a lot of things that, are very important. I just want you to know that I'm here to help represent the contractors in town too, because as we just faced with the drainage issue, people don't know until it's time, or they've seen either a council meeting or heard from people. And so like I said, I'm basically sitting here going, or coming here to go, we need to get a hold on some of this stuff because it really is driving the cost up. I constantly hear how about people don't want to build in the city limits. They're all looking for property out in the county because it's easier to do. There's not as many regulations and stuff. And I'm with Mike. I mean, the regulations we got to have. I mean, there are some things that they are important, but there are some things also that it's also depends on where you live in there. I mean, there are just some things that are out of the ordinary for people to be able to afford. And that's why they also live in some of the suburbs of Laramie, I would call it, because they're not going to be able to afford sprinkler systems. It's just not going to happen. So it's not going to be just about new builds. The way that it's done is if somebody wants to remodel any of you up there in a house that you already own, the requirement's probably going to be that we also got to put a sprinkler system now in your house. Well, something that you guys thought was going to be $45,000 for an addition or just a remodel is now going to just be, like Mike's saying, probably another $45,000 added to your addition cost. And those are just some of the things. I could go on and on about some things that we're having problems with, but I just want to let you know that I'm here also. And it's kind of strange because me and Mike are kind of competitors here in town, but we're friends and we get along and we talk amongst each other because we've got the same ideas and the same issues that come up a lot. So thank you guys. And I really appreciate everything you guys do because I'll be honest with you, I've been asked sometimes to come up here and take one of your guys' jobs, and I don't want it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Any further public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Back to council for comments. Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Cisneros and Mr. Vasquez. If I recall, we had a conversation upon first reading about the possibility of scheduling a work session in which we can invite stakeholders like yourselves to have a discussion and present to council issues that might come up inside of the UDC and the Laramie Municipal Code. I'm not sure that we have scheduled that yet, and I'll take full responsibility for that because I believe that it was a little bit of a convoluted last-minute conversation on the dais between myself and Councilors Lockhart and Newman. But that's something that I am continually interested in doing, and I think finding the appropriate stakeholders that are members of our community, and I'm emboldened to hear the idea that you're competitors and yet also friends. I mean, that's the spirit of community and collaboration and being good neighbors. So I would be interested in setting that as a future work session and in inviting folks like y'all to join us for that.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Doherty.
I just wanted some clarification from staff. I first want to say I really appreciate these gentlemen because they always give us helpful real life information. But my understanding is the code's already passed. These are just a couple tweaks, and then from what our last meeting, I thought my understanding was that for if contractors have those suggestions, that they start with planning or start with code enforcement or with the planning department. I was just wondering if it's okay if Mr. Teeny can address, because I thought that the point about sprinklers is a great point, but we're not adopting that thing here, right? Is that correct?
Director Teeny.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, yeah. So the amendment right here before you is simply recognizing the adopted code by the state, which shows what code we're going to follow as a city, and rectify or shows that actually in our municipal code. We then also, as Member O'Doherty noted, there's a few items in there that we've corrected that are some discrepancies between how our code operates, so the municipal code operates, and how the building code operates. That's really what the focus of these amendments are. I think, as I mentioned at the last meeting, kind of after our chief building official Lucas Witt spoke, was one of the things that our office has been looking at is kind of doing what's being discussed, is having these discussions with some of our contractors and some of our developers in our community related to the building code. That's not necessarily specific to the municipal code, but to the building code. And what's unique about that is remember, the building code is put in place largely for safety issues. And so there's going to have to be quite a lot of discussion about things like if we want to change sprinkler requirements, that will not just probably result in a conversation with my office. We're probably going to have conversations with our fire department and their personnel on how that may impact their safety if they have to go into a burning building, right? And so as we, probably want to approach that conversation, I think it's going to be talking with Mr. Cisneros and Mr. Vasquez and all of their other people that are within the community that, use these codes to try to find out, like, where are there some areas that maybe we can do that? And, this council's familiar with the way in which we've done that related to the development code, right? So we've brought back, sometimes it's every 6 months, 8 months, just kind of depends upon the timing. As we hear things from the community, we bring changes that we think are changes that make sense for our town to potentially adopt. We bring them to you. And I think that we would want to kind of follow that same process is what our plan would be. So for right now, not all of those things are in part of this code, but definitely be something, we're going to be interested in hearing. So.
Thank you for that clarification. And I have a question or comment from Councillor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Director Taney, for clarification. I wanted to echo Councillor Bowling's statement. Yes, my idea was to, we have a 5th Tuesday meeting at the end of this month, and I'd love to have contractors. I mean, I would love everybody there, but contractors to come so they can kind of fill us in on some of their ideas. And because there's a bunch of great ideas out there, and I want it to be something where they feel that they can speak at and not get any retribution, because I've heard that from them too. Well, I don't want to get in trouble for saying what's on my mind. I'm like, that's what we're here for. And I know Director Taney and his department would love to hear, because we want to make it easier to build in Laramie, so I'd encourage Mr. Cisneros and Mr. Vasquez to talk with your fellow contractors and get them to our last Tuesday of the month meeting. It's an open house, and we can just share ideas, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comments? Yes, Mr. Cisneros. We had moved on from public, but since you've been so good to us.
Yeah.
Oh.
One of the things that I wanted to clarify is, and with all due respect to Derek, because he's always been wonderful to work with. I've worked with him on a lot of different things and nothing but upstanding. But one of the things I get from all the different departments I speak to is, it's got to be up to the council. It's got to be up to the council. And so I don't want us to have to go around in circles when, where does the final answer come from? Because the building code is great, but there's some things that are cost prohibited inside of there that do not, dabble into life safety. It's the same thing, I talked to Mr. Johnson about the other day. I asked him, I said, when you have a fire sprinkler system, let me ask you a question. Can a fire sprinkler system fail? And he said, yes. So here is what happens with fire sprinkler system is you're only required to put a 30-minute wall in between, a fire rated wall in between a building with fire sprinkler system for living quarters. But if we could build and come up with ideas, and there's ways to do it with the 2-hour fire rated wall, that is a permanent 2-hour structure that will not have the possibility of failure. So there's things that can be brought to the table that allow us to be able to move forward. But, we've got to be able to tweak some of this stuff, and we don't need to wait 3 more years for the next, code book to come out. The code book changes constantly, and sometimes what they put into place is reversed because they find that it's not always working, and sometimes they add more. But as a community, it's really up to everybody that can pull together to make something come together that's going to work, that's going to put life safety first, structural stability first, but let's eliminate some of the little nuances that we don't need to have in place that we can work around and make things to be affordable and give us the ability to work closely with, everybody in the city. But
thank you.
Everybody says it comes back to the council. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Councilor's final comment. All right. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling,
Yes.
Freed,
Aye.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Newman, absent, O'Doherty,
Yes.
Shumway,
Yes.
Vigil,
Yes.
Richardson, absent, Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. And we hear your suggestion about a gathering. I hear Director Tini making suggestions about how that might happen. So I think we'll follow up on that sooner than later. It seems to be important to most of us. Thank you, sir, for you all for coming tonight. Next, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2108, repealing Laramie Municipal Code, Chapter 2.20, eliminating the Board of Health as an official board of the City of Laramie, and amending Laramie Municipal Code Title 2.10.010 and 2.12 and 2.16, 8.04, 8.08, 8.12, and 8.36 on second reading.
Second. I have a motion from Freed, second from Vigil. Good evening, Director Tini.
Mayor, Council, thank you again. This item is an ordinance regarding the elimination of the Board of Health as an official board of the City of Laramie. At first reading, I provided just some general background as to kind of why we were here. Since our first reading, so between first reading and this reading, we did have our regular and presumably maybe our last meeting of the Board of Health. We informed the Board of Health of this direction, and we proposed a resolution to the Board of Health that they acknowledge this direction that we're going. It was good. We had good conversation during the meeting. The mayor was in attendance at that meeting as the staff liaison as well. And the Board of Health ultimately chose to approve the resolution that was before them, which was to eliminate the Board of Health and disband it. And so really on second reading, I don't have anything additional to add, but did want to point out that we did have that discussion with the Board of Health and they felt that that was an appropriate direction to move forward. And we encourage them to participate in future and other boards and commissions based on their expertise. So
yes. Councilors, questions? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Back to council for comments. Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to remind the public or anyone who wasn't able to catch our last or first reading rather, that it really sounds like this board kind of did what it was set out to do. And so it's not really eliminating anything as much as it maybe is celebrating what has already been accomplished. And, you know, different times call for different needs, boards and commissions, et cetera. And so just want to give a big shout out, especially to our mayor, but then also to everyone who has worked throughout the years on this board. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Vigil. And I'll confirm that that is true, that the Board of Health is confined in their duties by state statute. And their duties are primarily to oversee the inspection of restaurants, tattoo parlors, and spas. And I mentioned at our last time that we had this for vote, that when the community was facing COVID, and we formed a task force to help with that process, it was not covered by statute that the Board of Health would do that. Many members from the board combined with a community-wide task force for public education and to monitor, et cetera. And we were engaged in that process for 18 months, but not as the Board of Health. So we have some very skilled and knowledgeable members on the board, and their responsibility of overseeing a very competent inspector seemed to be kind of beneath the needs. It just seemed cursory that we were doing that and not to have real meaning. And the board members were looking for something where it might have a little more meaning. And we think that that will be through other avenues of service. So, Councilor O'Doherty.
I just want to, in case anyone from the public is alarmed about that, the city will continue to do inspections for restaurants and spas and whatever that other thing. So that continues. It's just not having another layer. Thanks.
Thank you. And those are made public every month. So further comment? Seeing none, City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman, absent. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 15, Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2025-71, amending the City Council Rules of Procedure related to work session format and roll call order, and authorize the Mayor and City Clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Vigil, second by O'Doherty. Welcome, City Clerk.
I did it. I forgot to turn it on. Thank you, Mayor and Council. The resolution before you tonight is the result of a few councilors' requests for amendments to your rules of procedure. The first change is related to the work session structure and how we address counselors' questions and comments throughout the work session. So that was brought before us from Counselor Newman and supported by the mayor as well. So if you look in your rules, under number 4, order of business, there is a section D added for work sessions that does allow the city council to ask questions and comments throughout the presentation, go to public comment, but also come back to the council after that for any follow-up questions that you might have that might have been brought up by the public comment that you received. So that's the change that was requested there. The second part of that was roll call. According to Robert's Rules of Order and our rules of procedure, let me go back for just a second. Our rules of procedure state that if there isn't something stated in your rules of procedure, that we defer to Robert's Rules of Order. So in the case of roll call, our rules of procedure have been silent. So we've recently diverted back to Robert's Rules of Order that says that the roll call should be in alphabetical order. So we have a request from a couple counselors that have experienced having to go first every single time to put a rule in place to randomize the roll call, such as what we've done in years past. So we're placing a rule in place so we can do that randomized roll call, leaving the vice mayor second last and the mayor last on every roll call. So with that, if the council has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, City Clerk. Councilors, any questions? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Clerk. I'll just say that'll keep us on our toes.
Yes. Having been a C for a while, I had to become vice mayor to get out of that first of line order. So I agree with the discomfort sometimes of always going first. All right. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Did we do public comment?
Oh, I thought I already did.
Did you? Okay, I
yes,
just
ma'am.
Write it down. I'm sorry.
It was really fast.
I'm slow today. Yeah. Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman, absent. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Councilor O'Doherty, item 16.
I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2025-72, appointing City of Laramie City Council members to a subcommittee representing the city of Laramie City Council in all aspects pertaining to the implementation of the 2026 specific purpose excise tax, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by O'Doherty, second by Vigil.
I move to amend.
Councilor O'Doherty.
I move to amend Resolution 2025-72 to appoint Mayor Sharon Cumbie, Vice Mayor Micah Richardson, and Councilor Matt Lockhart as City of Laramie City Council members for this subcommittee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by O'Doherty, second by Vigil. So is there, for the amendment, any discussion, any questions on that? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? On the amendment? Back to council, any comments on the amendment? Councilor Freed?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say I think that Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Councilmember Lockhart would do great as our negotiating team from the City Council. So thanks.
Thank you. Further comments? Seeing none. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Lockhart.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Vigil.
Yes.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed.
Yes.
Newman, absent. Shumway.
Is it my turn? Yes.
Richardson, absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That amendment passes. Now back now back to the main motion. Welcome, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council, what you have before you is a resolution establishing a subcommittee of city council members. The intent of this subcommittee is to have those city council members work with staff on creating a list that they bring back and work through council in a way that we can get more work done a little bit more quickly without having to schedule full 9-person meetings and move through the process. We also intend for this committee to be the one that does the lion's share of the work with Albany County, with them representing the desires of council. The two most important things to this resolution is that the prioritized list will be brought back to council for approval on September 8th. We'll have a work session and a special session on Monday, September 8th. And then the resolution or ordinance that approves the SPT ballot language will also be brought back for this council for approval in fall. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fieser. Questions from council? Councilor Freed?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Assistant City Manager Fieser. Is this typically how this process goes? Have we done a subcommittee before?
Honorable Mayor, through you, if I remember correctly, at the last specific purpose tax ballot, the mayor was the only one that really represented the council at that time. Myself and Jen Wade and City Manager Jordan, Administrative Services Director Wade and City Manager Jordan all felt that creating the subcommittee might help us get a little bit more work done quickly. And as you can see from the process, we're kind of a little bit under the gun with the county commissioners driving the process, that to be a little more limber is more important at this time.
Thanks.
Further questions or comments? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Back to council for comments. Councilors, any comments? And I'm glad that we have some representation from council. I feel a lot more comfortable with 3 councilors working together, coming back, getting input and approval from the council, that it's more representative. And I felt much more comfortable with that rather than taking it on as one sole person. And I think with the 3, we will be able to meet in earnest very quickly, get the work done, get back on the 8th so we're under a tight timeline, and move on with our process. But this is a representational process, and we will be returning to you for your input and probably giving you some homework before we get back together. So further comment? No. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Newman. Absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Richardson. Absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 17, Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2110, amending multiple sections of Title 15 of Laramie Municipal Code related to housing as recommended by the Planning Commission on first reading in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Vigil, second by Freed. Good evening, Ms. Director Teeny.
Mayor, council, good evening again. This is the last time you see me. No, Council, this item here before you is a text amendment on first reading related to housing changes and changes that found within our municipal code that we believe will help affect housing within our community. As it was mentioned in this text amendment has been recommended by the Planning Commission to come before you. They passed it with no changes. And so the changes that you see here being proposed tonight are the same changes that the Planning Commission considered. What I'm going to do is just briefly go through a series of the changes. One thing I'll point out is that the City Council has adopted goals related to housing, as well as past councils in the last probably 5 or 6 years have had some sort of housing related goals. And this is just a continuation of that process. For any of the council members that do not know, as well as the members of the public, this is a long-going series of changes specifically focused on housing that we have done through the Community Economic Development Office and the Planning Office over the last 5-6 years. And we think that these are just additional changes as we continue to hear from the public and as we experience these things when we're reviewing plans or just going through our own code that we think will help, as you've heard us say, move the needle, right? There's no silver bullet, but we think that we can continue to kind of move us in the right direction, and that's what these are for. So what I'm going to do is just kind of, like I said, briefly go through some of these changes just to make you aware of them, and then would be happy to take comments and questions after that. One of the very first changes we have in here is a change that would increase the minor administrative modification process from 20% to 25%. This gives staff flexibility up to 25% on numerical related items. We often use this minor administrative modification process on some things like sometimes setbacks, sometimes parking, maybe landscaping units or things like that that are numerical in nature. What we do require is this process does require us to notify adjacent property owners. So this isn't done just completely in a vacuum. And that application is submitted to our office where we review that administratively, do the notice to the adjacent property owners, consider any feedback, but then allow for these projects to kind of move forward with this flexibility at a staff level. The second amendment that we're proposing is a definitional amendment within the zoning chapter of the municipal code, which is 1508. And this is just to clarify, some of the wording for the NB zone didn't include the term multifamily, even though it's allowed in the use table. This is kind of a clarity thing, but we felt it was important to put in this change simply so that people, if they're looking in the zoning code portion, so chapter 1508, that there's no confusion if they go to the use table and go, oh, it doesn't exactly say that. And so this was kind of an error, but also just something that we think provides some clarity. The next section we're recommending changes is to the use table found in 1510-01. In this chapter, you will see, and what we've tried to provide is what the current table looks like and then what we're proposing. And what you're going to see is a change for multifamily development being permitted in some of our business zoning districts and conditionally being permitted in many of our other zoning districts. Same goes for townhouses. Same goes for some of the dwelling live work, as well as modular home and manufactured home communities. One thing I'll point out is if you look at here, the modular home communities, those are the areas that you would think they're kind of a stick-built structure put on a foundation. A lot of times they are no different than anything that you would see within any other neighborhood. It's just that they're modularly built. They're built off-site and brought onto site. Kind of one of our classic examples in Laramie is Prairie's Edge. It's kind of located kind of up in the north end of town. Looks like a pretty typical residential subdivision. We believe that there's not really a reason why we shouldn't consider those within all of our residential zoning districts as long as they meet our density requirements of those zones. Manufactured home communities, that's our mobile home communities, commonly referred to. All you're going to see there is the R2M zoning district is the zoning district in which we allow these uses. If they are We do not know why we have always had them as conditional. We believe that we should allow them as a permitted use. Remember, there are a whole chapter of standards related to mobile home communities, so it doesn't mean they can just do whatever they want, but it is opening that door so that there's less procedural processes such as going through the planning commission. This change, I'll say, is we believe it's in best practice is what we're seeing across the country for housing. How do you open that door within your community to allow for most zoning districts to allow for housing opportunity? And that's what you see there with that change. The fourth change is a change that kind of combines some of these very common uses. And really it's retirement homes, nursing homes, and assisted living facilities. All we're doing here is noting that many of those zoning districts that we would allow those are expanding. And but still some being under a conditional use because of the nature in which those facilities are. And so this just once again opens up that kind of senior living and retirement age, as well as kind of that healthcare component as you get older and maybe need a nursing home to allow for more places for that to occur within our community. The Fifth Amendment is related to accessory dwelling units. This is adding an item within that section that just simply clarifies that no additional on-site parking is required for an accessory dwelling unit. Just so that the doors open a little bit on those, and there is not a need for providing that extra one parking space, which is all that would ever be required anyway. The Sixth Amendment is a modification to a section of our code. In our code, we have a process called alternative front lot line adjustment. And all that means is that in the current code, the front of a lot is always the narrowest side. Because of that, we have a process called alternative front lot line, and it allows for the property owner to make a request to make the front of the property the other side of the lot. So typically when you have a corner lot, you got two sides, which side's the front? This process before actually went through the conditional use process and went to the planning commission. We have found over the years that every single one has been approved and pretty much no one ever shows up to the meetings. We've had like 2 times where somebody's said that they did not want to see something. That being the case, what we've decided is we've made a recommendation to make the minor administrative modification process be the process in which this is done. Once again, if you remember a few amendments ago that I recommended, the minor administrative modification process, we're still going to notify the adjacent property owners, so they will still have an opportunity to speak about the issue. But we believe this kind of streamlines the process, makes it easier for that request, allows for the process to get moving, building permits to get issued quicker, and things like that. So the next amendment is related to flexibility in parking. You're going to see here, this is just clarifying and providing some extra allowances for counting on-street parking that's adjacent to the property and within a distance of the actual entryway to the building to count towards to count towards the required parking spaces. If you remember, for many, many times, we've done different changes to parking requirements within our code. Parking requirements are one of the areas that best practices show that if you can increase the amount of space on a property that the person can use for actual housing or actual development versus parking, you can often make projects a little bit more profitable and make them more attractive and make them a lot of times financially feasible. And so this is just opening the door a little bit there. You'll see we already do include in our code on-street parking allowances, so this is just expanding that a little bit. The Eighth Amendment is a section that's related to parking as well. What this does, though, is provides an ability of reduction of off-street parking, so the parking that's found on a site, if there is covered bicycle parking and secured parking provided. What this is doing is promoting bicycling and use of bikes and alternative transportation, and allows for a substitution essentially of vehicle parking. So just another way in which we think can promote kind of two worlds a little bit, but also improve the parking situation. The 9th amendment there is related to ADA parking. Really, this change is alignment of our current municipal code with actually what building code requires. We have in the past had actually two tables essentially within the municipal code, one that followed building code and another one that was a little bit different than building code. And it creates a lot of confusion. And what we're doing is we're simply just going back to relying to what the building code recommendations are, which follows Americans with Disabilities Act requirements for ADA parking for all uses, multifamily and commercial uses. And that's what you see here. You'll see there is some added text in this section. This is simply just providing a little bit of guidance that reflects what it says in building code about the different types of uses and what type of parking is required. What we actually find is this actually reduces a little bit of the accessible parking spaces as you start to get into bigger and bigger units, which we think is good and just follows the normal requirements that we would find through the Americans with Disabilities Act. Amendment 10 is a section that amends the space between a garage and the sidewalk. Currently, that space is 20 feet. We are recommending that it be reduced down to 15 feet if approved through the site plan review process, building permit through our city engineer's office. What this really is doing is allowing for just the more space on a lot to be used for the actual building and kind of shrinking that distance between the front of the garage and the sidewalk there and creating that space for the driveway. And so we've run into this issue with certain building designs. And so we think that this will help give us a little bit of that flexibility to kind of shorten that distance. The next change, the amendment 11, is a kind of reflection of that previous amendment, number 10, just in another section of code. So it's just reflecting the same change, but just in two areas where this parking length is addressed. Amendment 12 is a large amendment that looks large, I should say, but is largely clarity to changes to oversizing found within our municipal code. One of the things that we've continued to hear is that the cost of oversized infrastructure is one of the things that makes development of projects, not only of housing, but other projects that are found on the collectors and arterial streets difficult. And it's because the cost. They are much larger streets. Currently within our code, we do provide for some cost sharing of those roads. So that would include for like the asphalt and the base that is built within a street. Which you'll see within the proposed changes is we've provided some kind of, I would say, reorganization of a majority of this section to provide clarity as to what the process is required. But what I want to point out is the paving costs. What we're seeing is we're going to see a change in the cost in which the city participates in those larger streets. This was done through while working with our public works department, and through their participation, we came up with arterial streets going to a complete 50-50 share. That's your largest streets that we build within the city, other than maybe an interstate, but we don't build those. And then collector streets increasing from an 8 to an 85-15% share. These shares are based upon the actual increase in the width and the amount of work that goes into the actual street, minus kind of the curbs and the gutters that would be associated with that. Really, if you're boiling this whole amendment, although there's a lot of text in here, is we are increasing our participation on the oversizing of streets for collectors and arterials, which has been something that we've heard is a major issue and something that affects our ability when it comes to housing. So the next amendment, Amendment 13, is an amendment that provides some flexibility in dwelling commercial. Dwelling commercial is an apartment that is typically located above or below the first floor of a commercial building. So this is dwellings within commercial districts traditionally. What we're doing here is we're just expanding that to say that they could be behind, attached, and not just, as it says here, above or below. We think that there's a lot of appropriate places where somebody could be just maybe behind the commercial space, as well as clarifying that it can be allowed in industrial buildings as well. That's a common use across the country, and we actually have commercial uses in industrial areas, and so that provides the clarity there. Then the last amendment there is related to dwelling, live, work. This is really just providing, once again, a little bit of flexibility in terms of where you can do dwelling, live, work type activities. One of the things that was identified early on in our housing process is the more you can provide for people to live and work within the same place that they are, they often can use that to help make mortgages and make their the ability to get into home ownership a little bit more accessible. And so with that, we do advertise these in the Boomerang. There is a legal notice required for that. You did receive one public comment that was emailed to you on this item. And aside from that, we have not received any additional public comments. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Councilors, questions? Okay. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Yes, sir. Welcome, Mr. Cisneros.
City Council members, I'd just like to thank Derek and his team for doing everything that they've just discussed. I think that's a big step in the right direction, and I applaud them for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further public comment? Yes, sir. Mr. Vasquez.
Mayor and Council, I just want to say the same thing. That's really sounds good. That's working with people on us, and that's what we'd like to hear. And I still think what we talked about earlier about hoping that we can get more of our contractors here in town to understand the same things and see what's going on here is a step forward for all of us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both. Further public comment? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Yes, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Tini. And going through all these codes and reading it is not being a contractor. There's just a lot in there to pay attention to. So appreciate the dedication to you and your team and your staff, and to the public for, giving you a shout out. I mean, I think that's pretty huge. Sometimes in this room, we don't hear that very much, but to hear that we're working with folks and trying to do that it's rewarding to hear from council's perspective, I would imagine. And just appreciate all the involvement from the contractors and from you and your staff for doing this. Thanks.
Thank you. Further comment, Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to reiterate a little bit of what Councilor Freed said. Thank you, Director Tini. I was going through my packet over the weekend and I was like, oh, cool, this one. And it was like 18 pages long. And I'm like, oh my God, how are we going to get through this single agenda item? So thank you for your expertise, but also your conciseness in making that readable for us. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Further comment, Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director. And I'll just echo my fellow council members here in saying that job well done working with the community and everything here seems like it's making things easier. And if I'm looking at my calendar correctly, our third reading will be October 7th. And so in that time, I would say if we can get more input, if we can have more members of the community like Mr. Cisneros and Mr. Vasquez that are stakeholders in this process to be able to kind of review these changes and provide feedback. We have 2 more opportunities to do so before we vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comment? All right. Mr. Teeny, when I started going through this stuff this weekend, on first reading, I must admit, I had to go back and read and go back and read. So hearing you go through it was helpful, but I especially want to say thank you to our professional contractors who took the time to be here and to provide feedback on this and to assure me that you saw it as a positive thing, which is how I saw it. And we've been working for a while since I've been on council to try to streamline things. And I appreciate the work of the division very much. And I do appreciate the professional contractors being here and kind of helping support us through this. Thank you. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Viho.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman, absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. Councillor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2111, amending amendments to 15.22.020.a of Laramie Municipal Code in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
I have a motion by Lockhart, second by O'Doherty. Good evening, Mr. Shahidi.
Honorable Mayor, Council. Today I have before you a text amendment brought before a citizen in Laramie. This item was brought to you by John Raffoni of Gem City Roofing, who is here with us tonight, who has stuck with us the entire night, which I appreciate. This is an application to change our legally non-conforming construction within the community. So if you all aren't familiar, we have an area within code that specifically relates to what we can colloquially call grandfathered in uses or structures or anything of the like. This specific one is related to structures on a pre-existing non-conforming use. So the structure that the applicant is directly referring to in this is not allowed within the zoning district, and therefore per our code cannot be updated or changed in any way until that use comes into full conformance with that zoning district. However, the applicant does want to do a use that is allowed within the zoning district, and it just doesn't, our code doesn't open that up for that. So the wording that we're allowing within here is some incremental change to a building if that change in use is within conformance within that zoning district. This doesn't alleviate the applicant of coming into conformance with any building codes or codes that are related to UDC, but it does allow them to make that incremental change within the structure so that it is changing. It's essentially reducing the scope of the non-conforming use within that district anyways. What this also does is that once that use is changed, it does not allow them to revert back to the previously non-conforming use after that point. So once you move away from it, you don't get to move back. Essentially, as you can see from the Planning Commission staff report, there was some different language that was proposed by the applicant. However, we did make some changes to that according to what we saw and what we thought could best fit in within code. Planning Commission did recommend approval of our language, and that is there within the ordinance for your consideration tonight. This was put into the Laramie boomerang as required by state statute and our own codes. And we have gotten one comment that was sent to us earlier tonight. And I stand for any questions, and I believe that yes, our applicant is also still here if you have any specific questions.
Councillor Lockhart, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cumby and Mr. Shahidi. I did see this when I was attending as the liaison for Planning Commission. Could you explain further to council what this use is, this non-conforming use is going to be, what it's for? I appreciate that.
Honorable Mayor, through you. So yes, I will talk about the specifics of this one, but I do want you all to know that this will proliferate for every use, not just specifically this one. So in this specific case, there is a construction business within the R2 zoning district, which is a pre-existing non-conforming use. The applicant is hoping to put a residential unit within that use so that he can live there and also work there and just be closer to some of the services that he's not getting outside in the county. So this would not specifically relate to residential uses, but this is one of the aspects where it could relate. So.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you.
Further questions? Then I'll open it up for public comment. Is there any public? Oh, did you have a question, Counselor?
I just wondered if the applicant wanted to speak.
I thought I would.
Sorry.
At the public comment?
Yep.
I was waiting for you to rise. Welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to read
And if you'll state your full name for the record.
John Raffoni. Everybody around town knows me as Dino. So I just want to thank the Planning Commission for a thumbs up approval on this proposal with their rewording and understanding how this would affect the whole entire community or anyone who has a proposal like this. So I think it's just a step forward. So, and yeah, he can actually explain more in depth if you need that. So, yeah, basically what we're doing is a management residence within the facility. It's about a 14,000 square foot facility. I don't need all that for office and warehouse. I could fill it, but I'd rather keep the neighborhood not so cluttered. But we do have a specific area that would be determined that part of the facility. So there wouldn't be any question as to, what's residential and what's commercial. So.
Okay.
But yeah, the Planning Commission and department were very helpful in putting this together.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Any further comment? Seeing none, back to council. Councillor Lockhart, you have a comment.
No, I forgot to take my hand down. My apologies.
Well, that's okay. We're always happy to see your hand up. Councillor O'Doherty.
I just want to thank our staff and the gentleman that brought this forward. I think this is a good idea when you see something that could be fixed, that the obstacles that you're running up against with the city, to bring it up, because we might better change it. So thank you. Thanks for your creativity and for working with our staff. Thanks.
Yes. And thank you to the division.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Oh, and thanks where that's due. It'd be Christy at Dwell Engineering.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Christy. Further comment? City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Aye.
Behill.
Aye.
Lockhart.
Aye.
Shumway.
Yes.
Freed,
Aye.
Newman, absent. O'Doherty,
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Cumby.
Aye.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Finally, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, back to council for consideration of future council work session topics. Yes.
Mayor, if I could, I emailed you tonight an updated work session list. I apologize when Councilor Bowling brought it up earlier. I realized that the 2 requested items at the last meeting were not added to your list. So you've got an updated list that has the rules of procedure just update, retraining basically, and the request for the contractor item.
Okay, so now that is on our official list.
Those are on your official list. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other suggestions? Seeing, almost made it. Councilor Freed.
Sorry, Mayor. Can I ask a question to our city staff? Because I would love to have a public transportation work session, but I know we're having a transportation plan coming out, and so I don't know if this is the best time. But with some of these parking changes and some of these other issues where we're talking about multimodal transportation, I don't know if that would be helpful or if that's maybe a couple months down the line, or as we work into something like that. But I would be interested in learning more about it.
Yes, City Manager.
Mayor, through you, Councilor Freed, we are planning an update from the transportation plan with respect to the transportation plan in January. And I don't know that we'd be ready to do anything more comprehensive before then. You also have reconnecting communities going on, and you will receive a report about that before too long also. So what I would suggest is we could certainly add it to the work session list, but maybe with a notation that we expect that to occur in January, if that's acceptable.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be acceptable for me if we add it, but push it down the line until we get some more information.
We do have a bit on our plates right now. All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have that suggestion in a second with an agreement to put it down the line just a little bit. And Councilor O'Doherty, if you can bring us home.
I move the council adjourns to executive session regarding land negotiations, Wyoming statute 16-4-405, lowercase a, Romanet 7.
Do I have a second? I have a motion by O'Doherty, second by Vigil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.